Hey guys, welcome back. This is Emil. Today I'm going to show you how to install lowering springs in your 2018 Passat GT. This setup is going to be absolutely identical for vehicles from 2012, 2019 Passat for the US market. Well, I don't expect too much drop on the 2018 Passat GT because this vehicle already has lowered springs. For this model, the vehicle is going to be stiffer than the regular Passats because this vehicle has sport tuned shocks too, not just the springs. For your regular Passat, you're not going to have that type of shocks. Even if you change the springs, it's going to be a lot smoother than this, but I'm expecting that this ride is going to be a lot stiffer, but not super stiff because the vehicle is very heavy. These are the springs that I'm going to install. And this is how they look like. Okay, cool stuff. These are the ones. As you can see, 100% made in Germany. H&R Springs. These are the tools that I'm going to use: a hammer, slash hammer, rubber melon. I have a joint separator ball. And I also have this universal tie rod end remover. If you don't have this, you can always use the hammer. Then I'm going to use the torque wrench, the breaker bar, a couple of wrenches, a couple of sockets. Most likely going to use this one, 24 millimeters socket. All kind of bits. Those are triple squares, socket bits, then tempered star bits. You're gonna need those spring compressors, impact wrench, WD-40, get some grease too, impact drill, and just in case I have this professional grade socket set for all the extras. I'm also going to use a floor jack, 2 jack stands, and these 2 rubber blocks. I also purchased all the bolts and the nuts as recommended by Volkswagen. I'm going to replace all of them with new, and I do recommend you to purchase these from your local dealership. This is exactly what I did. And they gave me this based on the VIN number for my vehicle. These are the parts number right here, and this is how much I paid in Canadian dollars, $180. Totally worth it. Safety first, of course. And then for the installation, I'm going to use the service manual from Volkswagen. And I used, actually, when I purchased this manual, I used the VIN number for my vehicle, and this is the manual that I received. Is for the Passat new mid-size sedan for the US market from 2012-2019. So the installation is going to be absolutely identical for all the Passats from 2012-2019, and I'm going to use the torque specification that has been provided into this service manual. Before you start, you might consider doing a couple of measurements. What I did, I took some fader tape and I wrote my measurements, 3 different measurements. One is from the ground to the fender. The second one is from the center of the wheel to the fender. And the third one is from the lip of the wheel to the fender. And I do the same thing for every single one. Now, I'm going to loose these nuts. I'm going to lift the vehicle on the jack stands. And let's start working with the easiest part, with the back springs. Also have wheel spacers in the back, 15 millimeters.
So this is the comparison between the factory and the new H&R spring.
Okay, so I'm using this rubber and I'm gonna put it on the new spring, just like that. Same location, right there. And I'm gonna try to put this back in place. It's very important to align the bottom too. So underneath here, there is like a rubber thing. It has to go in that hole there. Cannot pull it out when I remove the sprigs, but I'm gonna put it right back. This is what I'm talking about, this rubber. Rotate the spring until you hit that notch that lines up with that rubber piece below. So let's see from here. There you go. From the center of the wheel to the fender, 14.3. That's exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to lift this up because this is going to be the height of the vehicle. Probably a bit more or less than that because the springs are actually now shorter. But I'm going to do it at least 14.75 from the center to the fender. I'm going to lift this up and then I'm going to do the torquing. Now this is how the spring is basically going to sit. It's pretty compressed and I'm assuming that that's going to stiffen the back of the vehicle a lot. Now I have 14.25 from here, and this is the time when I'm going to do my torquing for this bolt. That's it. Now at this point I have another 180. So what I'm gonna do, basically gonna mark where do I start. See, start from here. This is my arrow, and I have to rotate. The front is a bit more complicated. First thing you have to do is to take the wheel out, remove the cap, this cap, put the wheel back in place without the cap, release the driving axle bolt 90 degrees only, and then continue with the other bolts removal. Then once you release only 90 degrees, you have someone to help you in the vehicle to hold the brakes so that you release the bolt completely from the driving axle. This is a bit more complicated than regular cars. I would only usually remove this this bolt if I have to do the wheel bearing, but looks like Volkswagen made it more complicated. In order to do the spring, you have to remove this bolt. So one of the things you have to do is to access this bolt here. You have to remove this cover, find a way so you can get to these bolts in here. With the wheel, I removed the wheel cap. Now I'm gonna release this bolt
90 degrees only, with 24mm sockets. Actually, we're gonna do the same mark on the bolt. WD-40 for a couple of bolts. This one, two here, 3 here. And some more underneath these 3. One, this one too. Now, make sure that you have someone who's gonna hold the brake for you and release this bolt all the way. Okay, for this end I have triple square 14 millimeters and this is 18. It's coming out pretty easy. Ooh. This is 16 millimeters. Now, to make my life easier, when I remove this bolt here, I'm gonna put some pressure on the stabilizer bar, like this. I'm gonna hold it with my feet, so I can take this out easily. Okay, I removed everything. The only thing that I have to do is to release the shock from the top by releasing these 3 bolts on the side, not the one in the middle. This is my spring assembly. I'm going to use these spring compressors, and then I'm going to release this bolt. This is the difference between the two. This factory, this is H&R, it's probably less than half an inch difference. I had to use the spring compressor for the new spring, and now I'm going to use the new bolt. This is the finished assembly, the new spring, the existing struts. Now make sure that the spring, it's against this notch right here. There is a notch at the bottom. And what else that I did, You see this this lip here, I made it so it's straight. I marked the location up top here, be straight in line with this one, and this is it's going to be my top. And once I'm going to mount this on, I'm going to finish my torque here for the top, and that should be it. Now I'm clean all the rust, grease, everything. What I end up doing, I have one of those drill bits in here to keep this open, and I'm using the rubber melon to hammer it down like this, and I mark my location prior to removal. See, I have an arrow there. This is where I stop. In order to tighten the last one from this link, the last bolt, you have this sway bar. All you have to do is lift the vehicle on the other side like this, and the sway bar is going to lower as soon as you lift this part. I just found that that's the easiest way to connect the last link here. Tighten the axle bolt. Make sure you have someone who's going to hold the brakes for you. Okay. Now I lifted the assembly to the right height, and then I'm going to perform torquing for all of them. This is the order that I got them installed, and this are the torque specification for each bolt and nut. First, I installed the suspension strut nut, and the torque specification 60 Newton meters, which is 44.25 pound of torque. Then I connected the suspension strut to a wheel bearing housing, and I used a new bolt and nut, and the torque specification is 70 Newton meters, which is 51.62 pound of torque plus 90 degrees. Then I connected the strut assembly to the chassis using 3 new bolts, and the torque specification is 15 Newton meters, which is 1106 pound of torque plus 90 degrees. Then I insert the driving axle, and I use a new bolt, and the torque specification is 200 Newton meters, which is 147.51 pound of torque at this point. And then later on I rotated for another 90 degrees when I had the wheels on. Then I connected the ball joint to control arm. This is supporting the wheel bearing housing, and I used 3 new nuts, and the torque specification is 100 Newton meters, which is 73.75 pound of torque. Then I connected the link to wheel bearing housing. The torque specification for the new nut 80 Newton meters, which is 59 pound of torque. And last, I connect the link to the suspension strut, and the torque specification is 80 Newton meters, which is 59 pound of torque. And this was the easiest way to do by lifting the vehicle on the other side.